Tannin in wine makes your mouth go, while new drinkers tend to not enjoy tannins.
I think it tastes like tree leaves.
I find that as you gain more experience in wine, you really start to crave them. But you know what? You might enjoy them in other foods and beverages. I went to the supermarket and picked up several different items so I could try to compare wine tannin to those you'll find in everyday foods. And that starts right now. Tannins are a group of bitter and astringent compounds found in nature. Plants use them to ward off predators. You can find tannins in tree bark and fruit and leaves. It keeps animals from eating the bark or eating fruit before the seeds are ready to germinate. You can also find tannins in wine. It can come from the grape or the winemaking process. From the grape, tannins mostly come from the seeds or the skins. From the winemaking process, it can come from things like tannin powder or oak chips. Also can come from different winemaking techniques and barrel aging. Tannin acts as a preservative in wine. It also adds structure and helps with ageability. Tannin binds to your saliva, giving you that drying sensation. Anybody that's been to the dentist and had a bunch of gauze stuck up in their mouth know the feeling. But where tannins in wine really shine is food and wine pairing. Tannic wines by themselves sometimes are not very pleasant, but when you pair them with meats and savory foods, that's where the magic can happen. Tannin acts as a palate cleanser. It opens your mouth and allows you to accept the flavors. In America, a lot of people like big reds and stick because the tannin dries up your palate, opens up your taste buds, and then you can get the real great flavor of that meat. After the meat, you take another sip of wine, cleans off your palate, it prepares your mouth for the next bite. To me, tannins in wine have flavor and they have texture. Tannins from warmer climates like South Australia or even California tend to be riper and a little bit sweeter. Think of those big California zins. The texture of tannins is where it can get really interesting. Think about the small biting tannins in Nebbiolo from Barolo, Barbaresco, or they can be soft and pliant like those from Australia and those big Shirazes. And they can also be nice fine grain like those in aged Bordeaux or any other aged fine wine. So I went to the supermarket, picked up some items, so I'm going to taste those foods, those tannins, and see if I can compare them to wine. So black tea has the most tannin out of any other type of tea. I get these types of flavors in sometimes Mediterranean reds, like GSMs, sometimes in Pinot Noir, and a little bit in Nebbiolo. However, texturally, to me, they feel a little bit more like Pinot Noir. If you have a really high quality black tea that's super tannic, can be a little bit like Barolo or Barbaresco. A little bit, that's stretching it a bit. Espresso! I think espresso is the easiest one. When you think of espresso, you think of Italy. And when I feel those espresso tannins, I think of Italian reds, and more specifically, Central Italian reds in Tuscany, Umbria, maybe Lazio, mostly Sangiovese or blends. Especially if the wines have aged and are made more traditionally. There's this just nice, subtle bitterness to them. It's not overly drying, but it does tug your palate quite a bit. For me, espresso tannins are easiest to equate to another wine. This video is supported by and made possible by my community at Patreon. I want to thank everybody there. It's a really relatively small community, but they've really supported me and helped bring this content to you, so thanks a lot. If you want to check it out, I'll drop a link in the description below. On to avocado. I just love avocado. I love Mexican food. I love when you're in Mexico, the avocados are just falling out of the trees. In the US, other markets, you're always charged extra for guacamole or avocado. But when you're in Mexico, there's so much guacamole all over the place because avocado is aplenty. And I love eating plain avocado. The tannins in avocado are so soft, buttery, velvety. The texture, the tannins and mouthfeel in avocado really remind me of a high-quality barrel-fermented Chardonnay, maybe white Burgundy, or other big white wines. Like I've definitely had some Roussan in the Southern Rhone that have tannins like this avocado. Ah, so seducted by that richness and creaminess. Next up, banana. When I was a kid, I used to hate bananas because I used to hate the mouthfeel. But then as I get older, I get accustomed to it. I started liking banana more after I started liking black coffee. I didn't get into black coffee still. I started working in coffee when I was in graduate school. So banana tannins can be different depending on the ripeness levels. You can have some green ones, which are really astringent. This one just has a little bit of green at the stem, but it's pretty ripe. Still is a little bit of chalkiness, some powderiness, but because the tannins in banana, because banana is so sweet and the tannins are really sweet, maybe I equate this to maybe a big Shiraz from Southern Australia. Let me taste it again. Or maybe some type of New World Merlot. It's really nice and plush. I think the tannins in green bananas can act like wines that have too much wood. Sometimes wines that are too young, like young Bordeaux. So banana, everybody has access to this. Apricots! Apricots. I was looking for pessima in the supermarket, but I couldn't find any, so we'll just have to go with apricot. Apricots are so weird because I usually want more acidity in my fruit, but there are still mouth-coating tannins here. When I'm tasting this apricot, these tannins really remind me of a mature red wine. I think a lot of wines that age well, the tannin structure can be quite similar. Aged Bordeaux is a great example, and I think that's what ripe apricot tastes like. Not a dried apricot, a ripe, fresh apricot. Dark chocolate! This is 72% dark chocolate. If you want to try something really bitter and astringent, go up to something like 80 or 90%. Chocolate, like tea and coffee, are one of the products that are really valued because of their tannins. Dark chocolate tannins often remind me of Bordeaux, right in a sweet spot, the 10 to 15 years of age. Or maybe some New World Cabernet Sauvignon can remind me of some Napa Cabernet Sauvignon sometimes. Or even wines that see a lot of wood. This is a good piece of dark chocolate, by the way. Maybe it's not that you don't like tannins, but maybe you're just not used to tannins in wine. There's a lot of products in the supermarket or laying around your kitchen that do have tannins. So this is a way to taste test, build your palate, build your knowledge for what you can expect in high-quality wines. So let me know, do you like tannins in wine or do you absolutely despise them? I'd love to hear. Drop it in the comments below. And if you're thinking about something to watch next, I'll throw up something here that you absolutely will love. Thanks for watching. Cheers.